Hello and welcome to Mad About Superheroes commentary of Halloween 4, The Return of Michael Myers. Mustafa Akkad presents. For anybody who didn't know, Mustafa Akkad, or the Akkads, I should say, him and his son, they own the Halloween franchise and have kept it going for many, many years. And Mustafa Akkad, we should say, rest in peace. He died in a tragedy quite a few years ago, and his son carries on the Halloween legacy. Not to bring the party down, but it is Halloween. Everybody's entitled to one good scare. This actually was the first Halloween movie I saw in a movie theater. The other ones I had seen on TV, and I was quite young, too young to see them, actually, the first two Halloween movies with Michael Myers in them. We'll get to that in a minute with the third film. But I saw the original Halloween and Halloween 2 on television, and Michael Myers scared the crap out of me as a kid. Like I said, I was too young to see him. Many sleepless nights being afraid of what's lurking in the dark. Is Michael Myers in my closet? But I still loved. There was something about it, about the fear of watching it. It just drew me to it, even though I was afraid of it. And by the time this one rolled around and I saw it in the theater, I was a teenager. Probably still a little too young. I think I was around 14 years old when I saw it. But like I said, even though I was afraid, I was still kind of a fan. Even the something about the combination of the images and the music, especially the music by John Carpenter, always creeped me out. So even just hearing the music, I'd get afraid. I'd get scared. But of course, as an adult, I've overcome my fear, and it's a staple to watch the Halloween. I own the first 5 movies on DVD, which is, I'm watching my DVD right now and talking about it with you. But this is kind of like a soft reboot before soft reboots were even a thing. It kind of has a lot of the same beats as the original. It's kind of what people want to, like I mentioned, part 3. Anybody a fan of these movies, I'm not telling you anything you haven't heard a million times before, but we'll go through the paces here. After the second one, they wanted to try something different with Season of the Witch. They wanted to start an anthology, and that didn't work out so well. People wanted Michael Myers. So this is quite a few years after Halloween 2 was 81. So this is like 6-7 years later, where we're getting back to the character of Michael Myers. The first one, like I said, it scared me as a kid. The scariest thing about it was for me was the fact that at the end, if you know these films, I shouldn't have to say spoiler alert. That's ridiculous for a movie that's decades old. But at the end of the movie, after Dr. Loomis shoots Michael Myers 6 times, he shot him 6 times, right? Although the count in 2 is 7. I guess they weren't keeping track. But he's gone. He disappeared. He shot him so many times and he's just gone. And those images of like the neighborhood and, those shots of, he could still be out there. That scared the crap out of me as a kid. So for me, I always liked the second one because, it seems like he's dead forever. Like he burns to a crisp. There's that whole fight scene at the end in the hospital, and then he's actually dead. So I always liked the second one because it made me feel, gave me comfort that he wasn't still out there, that he was dead, And then, after so many years, they brought him back. And like I said, by then I was a teenager and I had a little bit more of a thicker skin. I wasn't, so afraid of horror movies anymore. So kind of excited to see him return, what they were going to do, how he was going to, even the kind of return, it's kind of just lame. He clearly like burns to a crisp in the second one, and Dr. Loomis blows up with him, but they're back. It's like the line in which the last Star Wars movie, somehow Palpatine's returned. Try not to question it. So I have this is the first. I always have a soft spot for movies that I saw in the theater. It makes it somehow a little more special to me. So I have a real soft spot for this one. But objectively, the original is the best. I'm not. That's not a a hot take. Most people say that objectively speaking, you put your critical hat on, and obviously the first one's the best. And here's the first time in the film, not too far in, where we get the classic score, the Michael Myers theme or Halloween theme, whatever you want to call it. Classic. It's good stuff. Creepy atmosphere. Nighttime, rainy. Gives you that spooky feeling. I should mention that the film is directed by Dwight H. Little. He, besides this, of course, he went on to direct other films in a genre that I like, the martial arts action films. He directed Marked for Death, Steven Seagal. And one I really like was everybody always talks about Brandon Lee, The Crow comes up, which I like as well. But I really like a movie he did before that called Rapid Fire. That's a fun one that I own on DVD. I rewatch quite a bit. Can't count how many times I've seen it. But here we have the first clue of, not that it's any revelation that Michael Myers is going to come back. And he kills these doctors in brutal fashion. And this was actually a scene that they added on to add more kills or gore to it, where he sticks the finger through the doctor's head. Pretty gruesome. And this is the first scene here with Danielle Harris. Very young. She's she's returned to the Halloween franchise as she was older. The Rob Zombie Halloween directed film. And even though I'm not a big fan of that film, she's really good in it. And she's good in this too. It's hard to cast child actors, but she really sells the fear. Putting a child in danger adds to the scary bit of the film. In my opinion, for my taste. And she's named Jamie in this after Jamie Lee Curtis, who was Laurie in the original Halloween film. Again, I like the spooky atmosphere with the thunder outside. Who can't relate to being a kid and being scared of the storm? And the continuing the family element from the sequel, from Halloween 2, where the big reveal in that is that Laurie is Michael's sister, and in this Danielle Harris's Jamie is his niece. They couldn't quite entice Jamie Lee Curtis to come back to the franchise, not yet. But I remember Danielle Harris, speaking of being a fan of action movies, when she got just a little bit older, she was in The Last Boy Scout, Bruce Willis film, a buddy action movie with him and Damon Wayans. It's pretty good, directed by Tony Scott. And if I remember right, Shane Black was involved in the writing of the script for that movie. And speaking of scripts, Aniel B. McElroy is the writer for Halloween 4. And I just recently did a superhero rewind video for the Spawn movie. And he has kind of a connection to Spawn, not the movie, but he's collaborated with Todd McFarlane on the comic books for Spawn, which is kind of cool, besides doing many, many other things. Like I said, I had many sleepless nights. The first two Halloween movies gave me nightmares and uh, being afraid in my room at night in the dark. And this is what this scene reminds me of. Like I said, she's a good actress. She really sells it. You know, the fear, the terror. Spooky. That's the one thing that always um, bugged me, and a lot of fans. Again, it's not anything new or a hot take with the Michael Myers mask isn't that great in this film. He's having the nightmares already about Uncle Michael coming to get her. Haddonfield, Illinois, 1988. It was a pretty good year for horror franchises. The same year that Nightmare on Elm Street 4 came out as well. The Dream Master. That's another one I saw in the theater. That's the same thing. Reminiscent of Halloween 4. That was the first A Nightmare on Elm Street movie that I saw in the theater as well. Same year. Right. Saying again, I had seen the other ones on television. I was a fan of the franchise by the time I got to 4. I saw 4 and 5 of Nightmare on Elm Street in the theater. Same thing with this series. I saw 4 and 5 in the theater, and in both franchises, I like the fourth one better than the fifth one. Although again, I have a soft spot for Nightmare on Elm Street 4 and 5 together. I think they're a good watch together. Same thing with this. The 5 fails short, and is not as good as this one. But they're a good watch together. Or I like to do double features, and I like to do Halloween 4 and A Nightmare on Elm Street 4 together too. I think this is the only actress that plays Rachel. I think this is the only thing I've seen her in. I can't recall. Nothing springs to mind, jumps out at me that I've seen her in. But she's good in this. She plays the good heroine, takes care of her little sister. And them talking about getting dressed up for Halloween and getting candy. I remember one year, super young, me and my brother are big fans of the rock band Kiss, and we did the makeup, the face paint, and the makeup that we got was really crappy. It was cheap, and we wound up when it came time to take it off and wash it off, the makeup wouldn't come off, and it like some of it did, but it kind of like rubbed more into your face, and we had these big black and white blotches all over our face, and we had to go to school the next day looking like idiots with patchy black and white spots all over our face. The price you pay for Halloween. I was the Starman, Paul Stanley, and he was Gene Simmons, the Demon. Now I can't even imagine putting face paint on. It's icky to me. I don't like it. Something on my face. And Donald Pleasance here returning to his classic role as Dr. Loomis. Like I said, it's you just kind of have to go with it. There's no way he could have survived that explosion and have this is a minimal amount of burns on him. Another thing that people mentioned often, I'm not the first, where the makeup or the prosthetic that he has on his face to make it look like he's burnt, kind of switches from scene to scene. Like it looks different from one scene to the next. I guess they were messing with it. They weren't happy with the way that it looked. Same thing later on with Michael Myers' mask, where there's like one scene where it has like blonde hair. It happens later on. But again, it's basically the same movie. It goes through the same beats. It's like you can't keep people happy if you do something like they went way far, too different with Halloween 3, trying to make it into an anthology. If you stray too far from what it was, people will complain that, oh, it's too different. And then if you follow all the same beats like this kind of does, it's too similar. So it's kind of hard to, find that balance. But Donald Pleasence, yeah, he's great in this role. I also like him in he became like a John Carpenter staple. He's also in Escape from New York, which he's really good in that as the president. And then a movie I just watched a few days ago was that he's in another John Carpenter movie is Prince of Darkness. He's good in that, plays the priest. It's kind of one of those things that um, shouldn't have been a franchise, but kind of took on a life of its own. Like fans, like I said, they can be, it's a double-sided coin or a where people want more, and then they're very either critical or accepting or whatever about what they get. Everybody has their favorites or love-hate relationship with the franchise. But the point is, it really should have never been a franchise. It should have just been that one movie. But that's how it goes. It becomes a money machine. You got to keep pumping them out. And here we're going to have more kills. I like this look with the... it's kind of funny how it keeps getting the same mask, or the slightly different versions of the same mask. But I like that the where he's got the bandages on and the hospital gown. Could have went a little longer before he got his classic getup. But he's got to get the overalls from the gas station, and then of course he's going to get this, like I said, the same but different, because it looks different from the mask in the original. They had to do some kind of alterations to it and paint it and dye the hair to try to get it as close to the original as possible. Obviously that didn't work out too well for him. Even the mask on the poster looks better than what is actually in the movie. But I always liked, like it's coming up in a minute here, Donald Pleasence, Sam Loomis's interactions with Michael Myers. He always tries to, he always talks very softly to him and tries to appeal to him somehow. But of course, there's no appealing to the good nature of something that's pure evil. He's always got that gun at his side. That magically fires a 6-shooter that fires 7 bullets. Try to go through all the logical steps of, like, going to the phone. Up, the phone line's cut. Can't do that. Nowadays, everybody has a cell phone, so then now they do the trope of there's no cell service out here. Just noticing in the background, is that a Abraham Lincoln framed picture there? Are those other presidents? I can't make out. But this is one shot too. You can see here that they're doing. Does he still have the bandages on? I can't make out, like it's blurry. But he has the overalls back. Did he fire 6 shots there? Does he still have the 6-shooter? I couldn't tell what kind of gun that was. Is he upgraded? Yeah, he's upgraded. Nice. Oh. That's something they retain going back to the first one there, where he's been locked up since he was a little kid, but how did he learn how to drive? I guess it's not that hard. You could figure it out, but I'd like to see the scene of Michael Myers fumbling around, like, how does this thing work? He's just that evil. He instinctively knows. Would that be funny, like him fumbling around? But I know kids, are mean, and they can, they tease and all that kind of stuff, but they're always the worst in horror movies. That kid's got a mask costume. Couldn't get that out. Classic. That was a cool toy line. Kind of a mix of Transformers and GI Joe. Didn't last anywhere near as long as those other 2 franchises, though, Transformers and GI Joe. But cool costume. I remember that springs a memory too. The plastic costumes. That was a thing that a memory that I have of. That was the last time, like, I trick or treated. I remember feeling silly in that plastic costume walking down the street. And I was like, I think I'm done with trick or treating. I think I'm too old for this. Because I had one of those costumes. I can't remember exactly what costume I was wearing, but I just remember it being plastic. As they say, all good things must come to an end. This is a character too that seems like they're setting her up like Rachel's friend here. And I think this is the only scene with her in the movie. Thought for sure, like, Michael Myers is going to kill her. She's going to be one of his first victims. Nope. After this, when they go to pick up Jamie's costume, she just kind of disappears from the movie. They should have brought her back for part 5. Instead, she's got a different friend in that one. This actress here, she Kathleen Kinman, something like that. She was in a series that I used to watch because I love the action stuff. She was in an action TV series called Renegade with Lorenzo Lamas. Actually, her and Lorenzo Lamas were married for a time. I'm not sure if they met on that series or what, but yeah, they were married for a while. So Rachel's the good girl character, and she's like the stark opposite of that. She's the bad girl. The kind you want to hang out with, but don't bring home to mother. To quote Rick James. So she's got to break her date to babysit her little sister. And of course, there's the Michael Myers mask in the background. So why didn't Michael Myers choose one of those masks? He's got to pick the exact same one. I guess that's his comfort zone. Serial killers are very methodical, so that's the reason he's got that repetitious nature. That's kind of a cool nod to the original too, where she chooses the exact same costume that her uncle had when he was a kid and killed his first victim. That dude has got some thick ass eyebrows. And he's showing his true colors here. He's not angry. He just had other plans for the night. He's another one. I'm sure I've seen him in other things, but nothing springs to mind. Like I just remember him the most from this because I've seen this movie so many times. Poor kid, she's having fun looking at herself in the mirror. She got to get these spooky images. And then the man himself, ooh, sliding on that mask. It would be more iconic if the mask looked cooler. But like I said, it's just not up to par. It's just so bone white looking. I guess that could be creepy to some people, but I think it's goofy looking. And of course, and again, you probably heard this a million times before, but the mask is like a William Shatner mask from the old Star Trek series. So technically, William Shatner is Michael Myers. If he's not getting paid for that, he should be. Using his likeness. Likeness rights is a thing. He's as fucked up. He's so happy that somebody stopped. He saw that smile on it. He don't smile much in this movie, but he's smiling there. And they're just gonna be asshole teens. And this the priest that picks him up here is like this guy. I think he's typecast in like the same type of role. Everything he's in, he always gets these bit parts, and it's always like a drunk or like a homeless guy. But hey, if you can make a living at it, it's not a bad gig. I could be wrong. I'm not sure, but I think he was the homeless guy in the remake of The Blob. If I'm wrong, I'm sure someone will correct me in the in the comments. Kind of like a Buck Flower, the John Carpenter movies. Hey, it's like you can't have like two guys delivering like the crazy dialogue. That's Sam Loomis's job. He's the one that gets the monologues about supernatural and there he goes smiling again. Toilet paper in the trees and toilet paper in the houses. I remember when they back when I was a kid, they used to be they throw eggs at houses or at people, and the wacky things kids used to do to make trouble. I don't even know if that's a thing anymore. It shouldn't be because it's disgusting. It stinks really bad. This is another trope of these kinds of movies, especially the Halloween movies. The parents, like, where the fuck are the parents? All these kids get slaughtered. None of the parents are around. Not that they'd be able to do anything against an evil, unstoppable force like Michael Myers, but it's always an excuse to get the kids by themselves. The parents are away for the evening, some kind of adult party or business function or something to get them out of the picture. Maybe they're swingers. they're, at a key party where you. uh, that's something I haven't done in a long time. Is carve a pumpkin, make a jack o' lantern. We get the cameo from Jamie Lee Curtis here in the form of photographs. She's got pictures of her mom. It's also reminiscent of, speaking of Nightmare on Elm Street 4, they do a similar thing, different context for it though, with Johnny Depp, where because Johnny Depp was in the first Nightmare on Elm Street movie, and in 4 he has kind of a cameo in the form of a picture, but it's in like a teen magazine or something, which is kind of cool, I guess, where Tuesday night's character Kirsten goes upstairs and her mother just gave her sleeping pills, and she passes out on the floor, and on the floor next to her is a magazine, and it's got Johnny Depp's picture in it. He makes a real physical cameo in Freddy's Dead to kind of go back to the franchise that kind of started his career. And this guy that plays the sheriff, he's great. I really like his acting. Bo Starr, I think is his name. Yeah, he's great in this movie as Sheriff Meeker. Dr. Loomis talking crazy again. Should we believe him? Or like he's like, you got to be sure. I like that. He just goes into action. Always liked the classic Frankenstein. Kids, they had that earlier. Probably a different kid, but the same costume with the Frankenstein mask. He was always my favorite of the classic Universal monsters. Speaking of the classic Universal monsters, I think that was the same year too. I think it was '88 when the Monster Squad came out. They kind of revamped the look of the classic Universal monsters. I think it was a way of like getting around the rights issues for it. But another good movie. Like I said, around the same year. Back then, like I'm from, like I mentioned, being too young to see a lot of these movies. I'm from Queens, New York. I don't know, in other places, but I don't think anybody gave a shit about a kid my age or under 13 or whatever it is going into a rated R movie. We never had any problems with somebody like stopping us saying, "Oh, you're not old enough to see this." I had an older brother that was with me. I got a brother that's 4 years older than I am, so that could have been it. But nobody ever questioned him either. He wasn't of age either, especially for a rated R movie, and nobody seemed to care. So I saw a lot of movies that I shouldn't have seen. Like I said, kept me up at night. The same thing like at home too. Watching TV. It's kind of like the cable guy. Like you know, uh, you got parents. They have to work. They're doing other things. The TV's the babysitter, so sitting in the front of the TV. You know, and you're quiet, and they can do their own thing, and you know. It's the same thing like with television. And like I said, I saw the first two Halloween movies, on television. I shouldn't have watched it, but nobody was saying don't watch that. You're in your room alone with your TV and you're just watching whatever. I mean, the movies were edited, for TV, but still there's certain things, like I said, like the ending of the first Halloween movie creeped me out. They got the angry mob. That's a new twist for this movie. Something that they did that was new that wasn't in the original. And then they did I don't know if you want to call it an homage or they ripped this off for the more recent Halloween movies, Halloween Kills, where they had the angry mob in that too, although it went even more exaggerated than it is in this. Those are fun movies, but other than the 2018 one, the first one that was supposed to be a sequel to the original Halloween movie, I kind of like that one, and then the franchise kind of went off the rails, like all these franchises do, whether it's horror movies or not. The higher the number gets, the more ridiculous, the series gets, more exaggerated and silly and whatever. And speaking of homages or callbacks, we'll get to that at the end of this movie. I'm sure if you're familiar with these movies, you know what I'm talking about. The whole transference of evil and all that kind of stuff. Poor, how many fucking dogs has Michael Myers killed in these films? We got to do how many, a kill count for the dogs. Because if I remember right, that's something they referenced in the newer Halloween movies as well. That was something I did like, because R.I.P. Donald Pleasance, because he's passed on too, but they did really well in, I think it's the beginning of Halloween Kills, where they brought his character back, and it's just like a look-alike actor. I don't know if they did some kind of digital fakery, but that was really good. I enjoyed the beginning of that movie, where it's like, takes place in '78 when the original Halloween happened. So that was kind of fun. They're always good, elements that they add into the new stuff. But not such a fan of the whole movie as a cohesive as far as Halloween Kills and Halloween Ends. Like there's certain things, scenes or elements that I like of it, but wasn't happy with the whole thing. But that's fine. People always say, oh, it ruined it. For me, it doesn't ruin anything. I still have the original movies or the ones that I like, and I'll just watch those. It doesn't ruin that experience for me. This was another thing I think they added with the Con Ed worker or whatever it is, the electrician. Michael Myers throws him into the fuses or whatever you want to call it, and he gets electrocuted. For more kills, more violence. Although the original ones and even this one, there's not too much blood in them. There's violent, of course. They're very violent movies, but there's not too much blood. Like the original Halloween movie has almost no blood in it. It's all your the theater of the mind thing, And we got Rachel freaking out because Jamie's wandered off. That's scary in itself, a little kid you're responsible for. It's your kid or your little sister. But this movie's got some good atmosphere and some tension building. Again, it follows a lot of the same beats as the original. But if it ain't broke, don't fix it. Especially where this is like kind of like Force Awakens. You're just trying to rebuild, interest or momentum to for the franchise again. And so this is kind of like a soft reboot before soft reboots were even a thing. Trying to gently reintroduce that character. Kind of play it safe, And this, again, not trying to jump ahead too much, but, you play it safe right up till the end. And then you try to do something different. Because who knows if there's even going to be another one, or if it even do well, But just kind of trying to plant that seed. It's just too bad that, the sequel doesn't really follow up with that for part 5. But then you start to, you try to do something different, and you can either do it and take a chance, or you get cold feet. And you're like, I don't think people are going to get scared. Like, people aren't going to like this. If anybody knows anything else that this actress is here that plays Rachel, hit me up, because I think she does a really good job in this. Her and Danielle Harris. Like I remember I mentioned being scared of the original Halloween movie when I was a kid, and I remember when I saw this in the theater, I wasn't so much afraid of the Michael Myers thing anymore. Especially, I think, because it takes a little bit of steam out of it when you've seen like documentaries about the making of, and then the mask looks kind of goofy to me, and you see the actors behind the scenes. All that stuff kind of softens it. But in this, what made me afraid was, like I said, Danielle Harris really sells that she's afraid and that this thing is happening to her. And I remember, like, you put yourself in the person's shoes, and that scared me. Was her reaction, her acting was good enough to make me, to pull me into the movie. This is a fun bit too, where they have the kids, playing the prank, and they're all dressed up as Michael Myers. So there's they try to put elements in there to make it their own. But like I said, it's a script that's really just trying to play it safe. And it's a lot of sequels do that. It's the thing that they call sequelitis, where you make the mistake of remaking the same movie, just changing certain elements. To it's a sequel. It's almost like a to trick you into thinking it's different, but it's not. On occasion, it's done really well and it works. And this was done obviously well enough where it made enough money to them to warrant them making part five, and then it kind of blowing up from there. And we got tons of Halloween movies. I don't really like any of the ones, even when Jamie Lee Curtis returned. I'm not a. I've seen all those. A lot of them are forgettable, but uh, yeah, I'm not like after five. I'm like, eh. Like I said, I own the first five on DVD, and then after that, I'm like, I've seen those ones. Occasionally, I'll watch them, like when they used to come on cable and stuff like that. I'd rewatch them, but yeah, not a. And I saw the one when Jamie Lee Curtis came back. I saw that in the theater when it came out, but not enough to say, oh, I want to own that, or rewatch that 100 times like I do these, the first five. Even the five that I admit is not very good, I still watch it. A lot of times right after this, I'll throw on five. And part three has gotten kind of a cult following over the years. Um, uh, and same thing, I like it. I think I was one of the earliest people. Like I didn't mind it, I just accepted it as it's not really high. And I even said, before, and I'm sure other people have said it as well. If you just take off the Halloween from the title and just call it Season of the Witch, and not be Halloween 3, I think a lot more general audience, members would accept it, would have accepted it more. But I don't mind that it's part of the franchise at all. That they tried to. You can respect them trying to do something different. It just didn't. These things don't always work out. I like that. Like they both have valid points. He's pissed because he incited a mob, and Dr. Loomis is like, you don't have a police force because Michael Myers killed all the cops. He's that guy's like that. I would have liked to have seen that scene. Like Michael Myers goes like Arnold Schwarzenegger Terminator style, and walks into the police precinct and like kills everybody. They reshot scenes for more violence, more gore. They should have threw that in. Michael Myers back there being Mr. Sneaky Man in the back seat of the police car. I like when they do stuff like that. They show, how methodical he is. Comes up with these little plans. And they come with another excuse to get the parents out of the scene. But like I said, if they were, they would just, Michael Myers would just wind up killing him anyways. And this is a kind of like poor Ben Tramer in Halloween 2, where they accidentally kill him, thinking that it's he's got the same mask as Michael Myers, and they what happens? The freaking cop car crashes into him, and he winds up being exploded. And here we have the angry mob. So it's a different take basically on that scene. Like I said, the same but different. Can't fool me movie. You get to a certain point in life where you've seen so many movies that, it's always like, this is like that. And that's like this. It's like, oops. Like they do this and they completely get away with murder in this movie. It's so bad. I guess they get their they don't get away with it because they get their comeuppance a little later where Michael Myers kills them all. But would they, if Michael Myers didn't kill them, they probably would have gotten away with that. Where there's no police force and the sheriff is distracted by hunting Michael Myers, so nobody even knows that went down. And we have the not as gratuitous as other movies will do it, but they have to have the sex scene in the horror movie. Not so much nowadays. But they cut away just before you get to see all the boobies. Just get to see a little bit, so it's tasteful. It goes back to, like I was saying, the theater of the mind. In my mind, we saw more. Like at the time, I didn't know. Like I said, she wound up being in the series Renegade with Lorenzo Lamas. I remember when that series came on, and then reviewing this movie, whether it was on cable or on DVD, and then making the connection. Oh shit, she's in Renegade. It's kind of like the whole Johnny Depp thing too. Like I was mentioning the Nightmare on Elm Street franchise before. Like I was a huge fan of 21 Jump Street, and it wasn't until like reviewing or seeing A Nightmare on Elm Street for the first time on TV that oh shit, it's Johnny Depp. Or I probably maybe didn't even know his name and just said, oh, it's the guy from 21 Jump Street. And same thing with seeing him in Platoon. He had a small part. He had a bigger part originally, but then when the movie was was cut, a lot of his stuff wound up on the cutting room floor of Platoon because he was in that as well early on in his career. It's funny how that happens a lot of times where someone gets a bit part in something and they wind up being, huge, bigger than anybody else in the movie. Kind of like not that he's like super huge, but he's a big name too, as Crispin Glover in the Friday the 13th 4, which they called the final chapter, but of course wound up not, being the biggest one that they kept going with it. It becomes that that factory, that money making machine. But again, Crispin Glover had a very small part in that. And the sheriff needs I thought he was pouring a drink there. He's doing the fueling for the lamp to light up the lamp. Now we get the teen melodrama bullshit here. But it's to further accentuate, that she's a good girl. And he's the asshole guy. His mind's only on one thing. But it works. It's good character stuff, right? It builds her character. But again, I like especially in this part, the atmosphere that they build, the dark, spooky house, the lights are out. The sheriff he's got to, basically enlist this guy as a deputy because he doesn't have a police force. He's only got a couple of guys left over after Michael Myers took out the whole police station. So it's all, good, like I said, atmosphere and building that suspense. Michael Myers is going to, well, obviously he hitched a ride in the back of that police car. So he's there already. He's inside the house. They're trying to lock the doors and windows and all that to keep him out, but he's already in. They're just basically locking themselves in there. It's good shit. And even though they've established this guy, Rachel's would-be boyfriend, as kind of a jerk. Again, jumping ahead a little bit here, where he's going to we give him a little character bit too, where he has a hero moment, but there are no heroes or Michael Myers is involved. They're all lambs to the slaughter. Like I was saying, we saw this in the theater, and being from New York, I don't remember exactly what happened because it was dark and there was some kind of commotion, and some kind of fight broke out or something. They actually had to stop the movie until the situation was under control, and the people that started the commotion, left the theater, and then they started the movie up again. It was like a brief intermission, because of some kind of violent thing that broke out. So that was kind of frustrating. But it was before we got into the real nitty gritty of the stuff. Like I said, like this stuff, like the suspense building. So at least that it was good. It was early on, And then after the movie too, it was kind of rainy, kind of like the movie was in the beginning, kind of rainy, stormy night. And then driving back, because I said we went with my brother and a friend of ours, and when we were driving back, the little fender bender. The car wound up sliding that we were in and smacking into the back of another car. Everybody was okay, nothing serious, just a little fender bender after the movie. And it was a late night showing and all that. So it was good spooky atmosphere. Yeah, I like the way that this whole sequence is shot too, with the half lighting on people, in the dark, and the tricks they used in the first movie, where they I think they used a dimmer in the first movie, so that they can do it on and off for the effect however much they need, and you can see Michael Myers' face in the background. It's very cool. I like callbacks like that are simple, subtle, And if you're a fan of the material, the franchise, you get it, it. And even if you don't, it's still a cool scene if you notice it, Oh shit, he's right there. That kind of thing. And they're just trying to get back up the state police on a, old radio, old fashioned. Like now they have to come up with, like I said, new ways because of, the invention of cell phones and all that. So it's a little harder to come up with the whole cutoff from the rest of the world, crap. I like how Loomis is a little unhinged or whatever, but he's like the hero of these movies, right? He's always trying to do the right thing. He feels kind of responsible for Michael. I like that motivation. And like I said, I'm not alone. Everybody loves the crazy, speeches about him being pure evil and all that kind of stuff that he delivers. The only way that he can that his acting and all that. You get the little back and forth here between the two ladies, and she's got that white T-shirt on that cops do it by the book. I think that's what it says. But it's kind of hard to read it when you're distracted by what's underneath the T-shirt. To be a dirty old man for a second. And this again, the exact opposite with Rachel's character. She's got like this thick ass sweater on. you know. But I like both looks. And like I said before, I like this actor, Bo Starr. He does a great job as the sheriff. Really solid performance. Yeah, between him, Donald Pleasance and Daniel Harris, steal the show. And again, little girl, talented. She can, go toe to toe in scenes with Donald Pleasance. She should be a bigger star than she is. A lot of you get that typecast kind of thing. It's especially with horror franchises. Like a lot of people have said, myself included in the opinion that Bruce Campbell should have been a bigger star than he was. He's got the leading man good looks. He's a talented actor. He can do physical comedy. He can do drama. I mean, he's had success. He's been in lots of other things, but it's one of those guys that I feel should have been a bigger star and been in bigger movies and that kind of thing. I kind of felt because I just recently watched Lords of Illusion, the Clive Barker thing with Scott Bakula. I've always said the same thing about him. I think Scott Bakula should have been a bigger, like a movie star. Like he did a lot of TV, and with the Quantum Leap, that's where I was first introduced to him as an actor, and of course Star Trek Enterprise. But I thought he should have been a movie star. I thought he was quite good, but oh, we got the reveal here. The dude is dead. And you're going to be dead soon too, honey. You didn't like that she put on a flannel and covered up her her business. Okay, I'm projecting, okay? So backup's on the way. It's still going to come too slow. So that the movie can happen. Although if they did show up, it would be fun, like I said, to have a Terminator scene with Michael Myers fighting all these cops. They don't go that goofy until Halloween Kills, where he's fighting like the whole angry mob. Is that this is a became a trope of the Halloween movies too, right? Where they reveal all the kills to the main girl, going back to the original, where Laurie discovers all her friends dead. Great scene. Done well here, but better in the original, have to acknowledge. where he's got the whole gravestone in the bed and all that. It's great. And here comes this guy's little hero moment here. So I never understood that part where he tries to shoot the lock off the door, and then it looks like it blows a hole through it, but somehow maybe the metal got fused to the, I don't know, and he can't open the door. It's stuck somehow. Like I never got that part, but whatever. And it's an excuse to keep him trapped in there. Now there have been quite a few actors that played Michael Myers throughout these films. Um, I like in the I don't again yeah people always say the first one was the best one. I like the actor or actors that did Michael Myers in the first one. I know Nick Castle, who went on to be a director, gets a lot of credit for Michael Myers. You see a lot of behind the scenes footage and photos of him as Michael Myers. This guy does a pretty good job too, though. Again, what really kills it a little bit for me is the mask. Doesn't sell it as much as the first two, but he does a really good job. And that badass moment where he just catches the punch. I remember the actor saying in a behind the scenes thing here where he spits the blood out of his mouth, like he bit down in the blood packet too early or something. It was supposed to come slowly out of his mouth, but then he just spit it out because he bit it too early. But he was trying to go all Billy Badass on Michael Myers. And then Michael Myers had to check him. But the desperation of this scene, like I like it, like they're just trying to do anything they can to slow him down, even like bullshit suitcases or whatever furniture, you know. It's just for a few seconds, you know. That few seconds could matter. It could be, you know, the life or death. Oh, he's got his classic weapon, the butcher knife. Well, it's a good excuse of how he gets it. It's an attic full of junk, so maybe they had some old silverware up there and shit. But they try to come up with reasons, you know. But it's all just reaching for stuff because it's just to try to get him back to that iconic look that everybody knows him as, you know. I guess you gotta try to respect the fact that they're trying to come up with ways or logical reasons for it to happen. But instead of just having it, he just has it, you know, which maybe some of the other entries did in the series. Like I said, I can't recall a lot of them. If he just shows up and has this shit, or if they actually go through the paces every time, him stealing his mask or, you know, him getting the butcher knife. But then at a certain point, they just give up. He's just back, you know, like even in I'm a slightly more of a fan of the Nightmare on Elm Street series than I am of Halloween. I hope that's not blasphemy for anybody watching this. But at some point, even those movies, like there are a few really good entries in the Nightmare on Elm Street series. But at a certain point, it's just whatever. They do He's back in the first few minutes of the movie. And then, like I was saying about this too, that you're just not supposed to think about it. You know, just go with it. Like in 2, he was, you know, burnt to a crisp, but somehow in this, miraculously, he was alive in a coma, blah, blah, blah. He's got burn scars. He's back, you know, because at the time that this came out, the series is not about that. You know, it's about he's on the loose and he's on a killing spree. Or in the case of this, he's out to kill his surviving family members for some reason. Even though he didn't get his sister Lori, now he's after his niece. So yeah, when I was watching this, like I said, around 14 years old, this creeped me out. The whole little girl in danger and on the rooftop, and because I'm afraid of heights as well. I think a lot of people are, but yeah, this is really creepy to me. And I like the behind the scenes stuff on this too. How they built like the top of the house, and it was only I think like 6 feet or something off the ground. And they blended the footage with the real house and all that. Like I find all that stuff interesting, like how they did it. So that's kind of cool. I like the when they use practical effects and they build sets and all that kind of stuff. And I like when they do that. They blend the footage of the real and then the set that they built and all that. So it's very cool. And he just did a Nightcrawler Banff to get down that fast from the top of the roof. He was down there in like seconds. And then he does this spooky shit of like he'll just watch you, and then you notice him, you start running, it's a Michael Myers cliche. And then the whole walking thing too. He's consistent with that where throughout the series where he's very slow moving and walks and all that kind of stuff like that. They switch it up with Friday the 13th. Like in some movies you'll see Jason, he's running and he's moving fast, and then other movies where he's just walking. But Jason walks with intent though. He's walking fast, like he wants to get you. Michael Myers is all slow, and then just boom, he appears. And I mentioned that the two or the big three actually: Friday the 13th, A Nightmare on Elm Street, and of course the originator Halloween. Because they're born from each other, right? Like Halloween was the first, and then Friday the 13th. Even the director producer, have said that they were just trying to replicate the success of Halloween when they made Friday the 13th. And for me, for my money, like I'm not a big fan of the original Friday the 13th movie. I respect it, for what it was, but that series didn't really come alive for me personally until 4, when he has that hockey mask in 3. Even though that's where he got it in part 3, not so much of a fan of that movie. The franchise starts for me like I own Halloween 4 on, because to me that's the iconic. Jason is in that hockey mask. This was a good idea too with them. Loomis gets to Jamie, and they run to the schoolhouse, and it's a good setting for a lot of creepy shenanigans, but they don't really do much with it. Here's that scene with the mask, and he's got the blonde hair. You can see it like right plain as day. He's supposed to have the brown hair. How that got in the movie, I don't know, but it's there. But yeah, this is a good setting, kind of like the hospital thing at the end of 2, but they don't really do all that much with it. Maybe there was plans to, and things happen with budget and things get cut for whatever reason, and then it's also Loomis gets taken out really fast, and then he doesn't appear again until the end of the movie. Which is a shame, because Donald Pleasance, like I said, he's for my money, like he's the heroic character. He's the one that, like in part 1 and part 2, he shows up, to kind of save the day or help in saving the day. And in this, he just gets thrown out a fucking window by Michael Myers' brother with the blonde hair. And then, the knocked out Rachel's going to show up, and then they're going to leave. So there's not much in here in the schoolhouse setting. So I guess that the idea is that she smoke screened the situation with the fire extinguisher, because I don't see how that would really stop him or do anything. It was just, and I guess it was a time for them to get away. They didn't really show that. That's a little lame. And now they just leave this setting. The angry mob shows up. Little redemption arc for them, right? They fucked up by killing an innocent kid, but now they're here to help Rachel and Jamie get away, for momentarily get away, I should say. But it's just more lambs to the slaughter. And this scene, again, not to jump ahead a little, but it's going to happen in a few minutes here, where so Michael Myers is on that truck somehow, like Cape Fear style, like Robert De Niro, underneath is he underneath it? Where is he? Because again, in a few seconds, like it hasn't happened yet, but in a few seconds, the they like stop, they like pull over, and they're like talking to cops that are on there with the state police that are on their way into Haddonfield or whatever. We're trying to get out of Haddonfield. Where is he on that car? He does like a fucking Nightcrawler from X-Men. He just bamps in and out. So that's kind of funny. But I do like the scene that's coming up where he kills all these fuckers in the truck. It's kind of cool. And again, seeing the behind the scenes stuff, the way the whole scene is put together is kind of cool. And again, I like the foggy, and the blue lighting and all that kind of stuff. The atmosphere is cool. This is what I'm talking. Where the fuck is he on that truck? like they could at least give a hint, that he's hanging underneath or something. I can't see shit. But it's just he's just he's supernatural. That's how he survived so many times too. They kill him. It's just he just needs to take a nap. He takes a nap for a year. He comes back next Halloween, because that's the Halloween, the spooky time. Powers him. It's funny. See, now that we get really foggy, and then all of a sudden, boom, bam, he's there. Oh, look at that shit. And he's the whole time too. He's holding on to that fucking butcher knife. He really is supernatural. He's a spooky motherfucker. Damn. You see, I like the scene. He's fucking these dudes up. But again, the driver and and Jamie and Rachel don't notice any of this. They got no peripheral vision, or however you call it. They're just so focused on straight ahead. Like, he seemed like he noticed it there, but I don't. But he didn't say anything, and then he gets his neck ripped out. I like that they really sold the fear in that part. Their screams. He's doing some fucking T.J. Hooker, hanging onto the roof of the car shit. But the things that he smashed through a window. He grabbed this guy's neck and tore his neck open. But then when Rachel gets in the driver's seat, he can't do the same thing to her because she's the heroine. That's why. But you see what I'm saying? And then he's just like I think he grabs onto her sweater here. He can rip a dude's neck off, but he can't pull that sweater off or grab her hair or something. So, they play a little fast and loose with these Michael Myers rules here about what he can and can't do. That's pretty scary too. Without a seatbelt, she's bouncing around down there, little Danielle Harris. But it's all movie magic, folks. It's all part of the show. Oh, I like that. His head busts on the windshield. They should have did some sounds on the ground with the knife, the clink, 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 on the, kind of when he rolled like that. This scene here, what the fuck is? He's got like no neck. He's like what's his name? The fucking, I can't remember the guy, the talk show host name, the old timey talk show host guy. He had like no neck. He was wearing like super 80s shoulder pads. Michael Myers got knocked the fuck out. This scene here too, when I was a kid, when I saw this in the theater, creeped me out. Like like you're screaming in your head, like why did, like obviously they're doing some kind of supernatural shit here where she's drawn to him, but like why the fuck are you going near him? You were screaming your ass off to get away from the whole movie, but they're trying to do it like a thing, like a setup. And she's like holding his hand and stuff. That freaked me out when I saw it when I was a kid. I was like, why is she doing that? And that scene him sitting up there, I guess is kind of a callback to the way he sits up in the first movie, but nowhere near as creepy when it happened, where Jamie Lee Curtis is in, your focus in the forefront of the screen, and then Michael Myers is in the background, behind the bed, and he sits up. One of the creepiest scenes in horror movies, in my opinion, is that scene. So to me, that looked kind of goofy when he did it behind Jamie there. He looked a little oafish the way he was laying down. You could see his belly was sticking up. So it looks kind of comedic to me, almost like a parody of that, of the original scene. But they shot the shit out of him, and he falls down a mine shaft or whatever, and I guess he's gone. I do like the opening scene, as hokey as it is in part 5, where he goes underneath like the water, the sewer system or something, and winds up in a cave with like an old dude. It reminded me of like old like Frankenstein movies or something. Or like what happened in G.I. Joe, the 5-part of the Mass Device, with Snake Eyes gets radiation poisoning or something, and then like the old dude finds him and brings him back to his cave. It reminds me of that. Like in the early 80s when G.I. Joe cartoon first started. Like the old guy that nurses you back to health and, and sets you on your way. Or in the case of Michael Myers, he can't just, thank the guy and say, oh, thanks for your help. No, he's got to fucking kill the dude. He's got to butcher him. So this is where I was saying, where they try to go, instead of following all the beats of the original, now they're still following the beats with Michael Myers killing his sister in the first movie. But it's like she's inherited the evil, right? The evil was transferred from Michael Myers when she touched him. It transferred into her, into Jamie's character, and they're going through all the beats, the same scene where the mask going down and you see through the eye holes. Very cool stuff. But they're not. The movies have been out forever now, I should say, and they didn't follow through with that in part 5. And this scene is great. I love Donald Pleasant's reaction when he sees her. Great shot with her with the scissors, and he goes for his gun. He's going to shoot her. Because he knows there's just a replay of what happened already. And the sheriff stops him for a minute, but he's like, "What the fuck?" And then he has the same reaction for a minute, but he's not going to shoot because he's sheriff. He's a good guy. He wants to do the right thing. He's not going to kill a little girl. But they didn't follow through with this. And then again with if you want to call it homage or a ripoff or whatever, they did the same thing with Halloween Ends. The evil was supposed to be transferred from Michael Myers to that new character. I think his name was Corey. But they didn't follow through with that with the ending. It kind of did, and then he becomes Michael Myers for a minute. Well, not really Michael Myers, but he inherits the mask and all that and goes on his own little killing spree. And but they didn't follow through with it. They did more in a sense than this movie did, or the sequel to this movie did. But and the movie was very polarizing. A lot of people didn't like that. I kind of liked the movie for what it was. But overall, not a very good movie. But your mileage may vary. But that is my commentary for Halloween 4, The Return of Michael Myers. Thanks for hanging in there with me if you stayed till the very end. And as always, thanks so much for letting your geek flags fly with Mad About Superheroes. Happy Halloween, everyone.